Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. The winter session of the parliament is ongoing, and one of the most widely discussed topics in the ongoing winter session is our national song Vande Mataram, where the government of the day is accusing the Congress, more specifically accusing Jawaharlal Nehru, that they had cut short Vande Mataram and only took the first two stanzas as the national song of India while removing the other part under pressure from the Muslim League. The Congress, on the other hand, is defending that. So I thought in this particular lecture, I will be discussing the entire history of this controversy. What exactly is the controversy all about? What has been the journey that our national song Vande Mataram has taken, because it is an extremely important topic from the examination point of view for anyone who is preparing for the UPSC Civil Services examination. But before I dive deep into that topic, a quick reminder. Starting this Saturday, I am bringing to you the UPSC Prelims 2026 Current Affairs course and Prelims Test Series as a combination. The aim of this program is to cover current affairs of 15 months before the prelims examination. It is specifically designed for those who are planning to write the prelims examination next year, that is in May 2026. This course starts Saturday, 13th of December. The classes will be only on Saturday and Sunday on my own app. These will be live online classes. All these classes will be at 9 a.m. The course will go on till 3rd of May. You'll get all the class recordings, a PDF, you can watch it again and again. After the end of the class, you'll also have a Zoom call of 15 minutes to discuss any doubts that you may have that you may not have been able to ask in between the class. There'll also be a weekly test after each week, and at the end of the course, we'll have 10 full-length tests that will serve as a test series for you. To enroll, you can download my Android app. The link is in the description of the video. The name of the app is Harshmeet Study Circle. If you have any questions about the course or the app, feel free to contact me. I'm giving my address details in the description of the video. Now let's see what exactly is the controversy all about and where do we stand. Now I hope all of you know the origin of our national song Vande Mataram, written by Bankim Chattopadhyay. Now, before I go deeper, please understand who was Bankim Chattopadhyay. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee was actually a senior civil servant working under the East India Company. Now, when the British were here, they had employed a lot of very well-known, respected Indians because they wanted people who are educated to work for them. That does not mean that these Indians were not patriotic enough. Like Mr. Chatterjee also here was actually working for the British, but he still had this feeling of his own motherland. He wanted India to become independent as soon as possible. He is the one who wrote this poem. Now, if you look at Vande Mataram, a very interesting part about this that you have to understand is it actually has, or the original version has 8 stanzas. Out of that, only the first 2 stanzas have been adopted as our national song. Interestingly, even when he wrote the Vande Mataram, he wrote the first 2 stanzas earlier and then he added the later on part much later. In his very famous work, Anandamath, in his novel, this is where he talks about, he uses this entire poem called Vande Mataram. Now, Anandamath itself is a very interesting novel. In this novel, there is a story about how there's a family in the rural areas that are being exploited and how they are now being held by people who are fighting against the independence or against the British for India's independence. This particular poem has been inspired or was inspired by the famous Fakir Sannyasi rebellion. Now, what was the Fakir Sannyasi rebellion? This was a rebellion that started late in the 18th century, where the Fakirs, so basically from the Muslim community, and Sannyasis from the Hindu community, they combined, they joined their hands together to fight against the British. Because the British were introducing policies of exploiting in the name of land revenue collection. They were specially exploiting those who were moving from one place to the other. So both the Fakirs and the Sannyasis did not have one single place where they would stay, and their movement was restricted, so they joined their hands together to fight against the British, and the British exploited them even further. Now, one other thing that you have to understand about Bankim Chandra Chatterjee before we go ahead, he was posted in Bengal, and Bengal at that time was a huge piece of land. Bengal at that time, imagine Bengal as today's West Bengal, Bangladesh, and some nearby districts. So it had a population of close to 7 crore people. Now, In his works, that is the Anandamath and other works that he had written, he was a big critic of the rule of Mir Jafar in West Bengal. Now, understand, this is important for you to understand this entire controversy about. So, Bankim Chatterjee, in his writings, had been very critical of the rule of Mir Jafar. However, while writing about the rule of Mir Jafar, a lot of his writings actually generalize it as a Muslim rule. So it was not really about one single individual ruling or exploiting the people. He generalized in many areas of his writing and he thought of it as a Muslim rule. On the other hand, in his own writings, he mostly praised the British. In fact, he had even praised Warren Hastings. He had written in his works that the British rule was actually the rule of law in India. So it's not that most of his works were in line with what other freedom fighters had thought about. Now, in this context, understand this, that the first two stanzas were written earlier at a time when he was a very rational thinking person, at a time when Bankim Chatterjee himself was against the idea of idol worship. Later on, his mind changed and he became much more supporter of spirituality, much bigger supporter of idol worship. He, in fact, got inspired by the ideas of the French Revolution as well about preservation of your culture. So, the first two stanzas were written when he was in a phase of his life when he was against idol worship, when he was against idol worshipping. The last six stanzas were written when he had changed his thinking, and that is why, if you look at the entire poem, you will see a very drastic change after what you see in the first two stanzas. Now, the poem Vande Mataram became famous after Rabindranath Tagore recited it famously at the Indian National Congress session. So the story is that Rabindranath Tagore liked it so much that he gave it the tune. He converted it into a way that you can actually sing it. He also sang it for Bankim Chatterjee, first took his permission, and then he sang it in the Indian National Congress session as well in 1896. And after that, it became famous. It became so famous that it actually became the war cry of the freedom fighters who were fighting against the British. You would have seen in many movies also, it has been adopted in various ways. It was something that terrorized the British so much that the British, in fact, had banned Vande Mataram in various public platforms because the British thought that this particular poem is actually being used to incite violence. The British thought that this is something that was being used to mobilize power against them, and they were against it. Congress, on the other hand, in 1937, adopted Vande Mataram as a national song. Now, this is where the controversy starts. Congress adopted this as a national song, but only the first two stanzas, not the remaining six. So it has total of 8 stanzas, only 2 were adopted, the remaining 6 were not. This is what the current government, Prime Minister specifically, has been pointing towards. If you look at the debates that are happening in the parliament right now, the Prime Minister consistently is saying that it was under the pressure of the Muslim League at that time that Nehru, Congress, they all bent and they made sure that the remaining 6 stanzas were removed. Now, what exactly is the story? Let's see what exactly were the facts when in 1937 Congress had adopted this. So the 1937 Congress Working Committee, it's a very important thing to understand. The ruling government is blaming that Nehru, as the first prime minister of the country, has to take the blame. But the interesting part is, if you look at the people who were in the Congress Working Committee at that time, who took the decision to adopt only the first two stanzas, look at the people. In that Congress Working Committee, there were Gandhi, Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose, Maulana Azad, Sarojini Naidu. All these are people in the Congress Working Committee that took the 1937 decision. So, if you have to blame someone, the blame cannot be with Nehru alone because he was not the sole decision maker here. Please understand this. Why was it done and why is it that only first 2 paragraphs were chosen? So, if you look at the original poem from the third paragraph onwards, it talks a lot from Hindu point of view, from Hindu religious connotation point of view. It talks about idol worshipping. It talks about Hindu goddess Durga. It also talks about the militant imagery, etc. Now, this is something that Muslims did not connect with. Now, for those who follow Islam, for them, idol worshipping is strictly prohibited. They don't believe in idol worshipping, and that is why this became a problem. So, when something is being adopted as a national song, song of the nation, this is where the point came in that the Muslim population said that no, we don't accept this. As long as you have to sing it within the Congress, we don't have a problem. But if you are reporting as a national song, then we demand that you should only take the first two stanzas and not the others. When this demand was made, the Congress, Jawaharlal Nehru especially, asked the opinion of Rabindranath Tagore at that time. He asked Rabindranath Tagore, what is your view about this? What do you think? Should we take it, or would it make sense if we only take the first two paragraphs? Rabindranath Tagore suggested that yes, we should take the first two paragraphs only for the official purpose and let's leave the others. So again, it was not only Nehru's decision, all of these wise men came together to decide, and that is how the compromise was made. Again, I'm not saying it should have been done, should not have been done, whether it is right or wrong, that's a different matter altogether. But the point is, whoever took the decision, it was not Nehru's decision all by himself. Now, the complete structure, as I said, has 8 stanzas in total. The Congress at that time, when the demand was being made that the last 6 stanzas should not be taken as the official song, had this dilemma. Either Congress had the first option to say, no, we will adopt the entire poem no matter what. You like it, you don't like it, we don't care. Congress at that time decided that no, this is not the right way to go ahead. We would be, or we should be, much more accommodative rather than being confrontational with the other side. Muslim League, led by Muhammad Jinnah, had opposed this because, as I said, for them, it turned religious after the second stanza, and that is why they did not really connect with it. Gandhi, Tagore, all of them supported this. So again, it was not a decision by Nehru. In fact, on the contrary, in 1937, it would be correct to say that Nehru was not even the biggest leader that India had at that time. We had Gandhi, Tagore, again, a literary genius at that point in time. Subhash Chandra Bose also was a part of the Congress Working Committee. Patel himself was a part of the Congress Working Committee. So all these people came together to decide this. It was not just a decision that Nehru could take by himself. Why is it in the news? You know that the government is discussing this in the parliament. Why are they discussing it? Because it is the 150th anniversary of this national song being written. Now, there are various demands, or there are various versions of the exact date when it was written. Historians don't agree to that, but at least everyone agrees that this is the 150th year anniversary. There has been a parliamentary debate where the Prime Minister is accusing that Congress, again, as they always do, they have accused Congress of what is called as minority appeasement. They have said that we are in a situation of minority appeasement, where the Congress, in order to appease the minority, in fact, took away the national song as well and gave it a new look, something that should not have been done. Apart from that, there have been allegations that the Congress leadership bowed down to the demands of the Muslim League, something that the BJP is accusing the Congress of. And on the other hand, there are again different views of historians. Some historians do blame the Congress for this chopping up of the national song. On the other hand, some historians say that yes, there have been instances in the past when the song has been used to create a communal divide between the communities. So what Congress did was not wrong. By not being confrontational, by being accommodative, they were actually doing the right thing. This is a view of a lot of historians as well in the country. Now, it is also in the news, or what you have to remember is some of these details, especially from the examination point of view, the fact that it still remains our national song, although interestingly, there are no strict rules about it. For example, for the national anthem, there are extremely strict rules. How can you recite it? Where can you recite it? What are the disciplinary action that need to be taken? How exactly can you sing that national anthem? Where can you sing it? You have to be in the standing position, etc. For national song, we do not have this strict protocol. In fact, you would have seen in many movies as well the national song being adopted in various variations, various versions, and it has not led to any controversy. So it's much more flexible. In fact, famously in 1950, the first president of India, President Rajendra Prasad, said, Vande Mataram shall be honored equally with Jan Man Gan and shall have equal status with it. So although there is no formal protocol of where and how can you sing it, the first president was of the view it should be given the same respect and same status as the national anthem of India. This is why it's in the news. The 150 year, just to wrap it up, the 150th anniversary. That is why the Tamil Nadu High Court also mandated that this should be sung in schools and offices as well in weekly or monthly to foster the sense of national pride. And this is why this has become a big controversial issue. Whether the governments or the political parties should be discussing this, whether this is the best use of their time, you be the judge. You are a citizen as much as I am. But my responsibility was just to tell you what the facts have been and how we have reached to this stage. Thank you so much. If you want this PPT for your revision, do join my Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Jai Hind.